breaking through unresourceful patterns of relationship conflict. In a relationship or marriage, one key ingredient that keeps couples together is the practice of resolving conflicts. Love goes far, but it only goes so far. It is difficult to keep good feelings alive in the midst of strife. Eventually, something has to give. And too often, it is the commitment to making things work that's going to go out the window. A couple, like an individual, typically has the instinct to try to solve their own problems. However, a couple, again like an individual, has blind spots, and these blind spots create challenges. It is sometimes difficult to go beyond the immediate situation or the issue without an objective party to help neutralize the high emotions that are going to get in the way of your understanding and negotiating. This is where couples counseling or relationship coaching can help. It can move you along further in less time than you might working on your own. Typically, couples come into therapy as a last-ditch effort. Professional help is often put off until separation is imminent, until the couple is in crisis. And there's a point at which one or both just can't take it anymore. The reluctance to seek help outside the marriage is understandable. But too often, this avoidance fuels the fire in perpetuating negative cycles that don't work. The good news is that if both couples are motivated to stay in the relationship, couples can work together effectively to repair past damage and hurt feelings. I've seen couples come back from deep attachment wounds and real betrayals, such as infidelity and abandon. I have seen couples heal and return to intimacy, sometimes forming intimacy in the relationship for the very first time. Now, intimacy is something that we tend to take for granted. We should all have it. We should all be good at it, right? But the knowledge and skills that are required to maintain a healthy relationship, true attachment, and trust, all of which are necessary for intimacy, those things are not something that are learned in our homes at times. It's certainly not something that's taught out in the general public, in school, or even church. Now, I work with couples. I get to see relationships from the outside. I'm objective, and I'm experienced. So my insight doesn't come from some trick where I magically see what's really going on in the relationship, but rather from observing the relationship from the outside of the emotionality, outside of the stories that each individual is coming into the relationship with. That is the real magic that I get to hold on to, objectivity. Now, inside the relationship, it can be difficult to be this aware. Inside the relationship, we get tripped up with hurt, resentment, old triggers. All those filters that you call baggage and you brought into this marriage to begin with. All these cognitive filters that publicly we call baggage. And those filters can keep us from being powerfully related to our partners. Hell, those filters can keep us from being powerfully related to reality. They also keep us from addressing the core issues in our relationships. Empathy, trust, compassion. These are things that we want for our partners, and we also want them for ourselves. So what is the key to beginning to break through these unresourceful patterns, these filters and the baggage that keep us looping in these vicious circles that don't work? Vulnerability. Vulnerability is one of the key ingredients. It is the only thing that I have seen take couples that are heightened with anger and betrayal, mistrust, and bring them down to a level where they can see each other again, where they can hear each other again, where they can be known. In couples work, both individuals identify and learn about their own filters and how those filters are affecting their partner's ability to be vulnerable. We work together to discover the thinking and the feeling behind the dynamic. We slow down, way down, and we observe the patterns that lead to repeatedly being triggered, repeatedly going into that amygdala reptilian brain attack or flight mode, and keep us from being vulnerable. In couples work, we also identify maladaptive coping patterns, and we look at the attachment need that is behind the behavior. We do this in a very open and transparent way, and when our partners can see the mechanism, the motivation behind what is simply us trying to get our attachment needs met, then the destructive cycles in our relationships end. My approach to coaching and counseling is to get hired and fired as soon as possible. You're going to hear me say that a lot because it's true. And I get fired by empowering couples to take on the role that I have as the observer. I teach them how to become the observer in their own relationship, how to be careful, how to not only show vulnerability, but how to create a space for their partners to be vulnerable as well. I teach couples how to interrupt or even prevent the negative cycles. And we do this by becoming aware of the triggers and the patterns that rule us. In becoming aware, in becoming the observer of your own experience, in becoming the observer of your dynamic as a couple, you really begin to master your life. And only then can you begin to develop new ways of interacting. It creates a different approach and a world of possibilities. A world of possibilities for couples just like you.